Anybody have the banner yet to say that it's recording? Right, there we are. Excellent. Okay, so thank you for joining us today at our show and tell. Most of you will be aware I'm Jenny Nelson. I'm the Principal Advisor for Digital at Newcastle Council, and I'm joined today by David Scott from Hedgehog Lab, and I'll be starting off the presentation, and David will be giving a bit more detail. We don't expect it to be a very long show and tell today. So we really just wanted to, we were aware that it'd been a few weeks, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody was up to date with what we were doing on the next steps for Howbusyistoon project. If you could skip on, please, David. So just as a recap, the purpose of the project was to not only promote the existing Howbusyistoon tool that we've been using and that is still very much being used across a wider geography. So at the minute it's broadly just Newcastle, but we wanted to promote it to other people as well. So we'll say a little bit about that. And also that we've obviously been spending more time looking at how to give people more and different data, but specifically around travel, transport and mobility as well. So update on the current Howbusyistoon, and we've got Mike from Essex and Hearts who's going to let us know what they've been up to as well, and then hand over to David for some design iterations and then the next steps. So as I say, we don't think it'll be too much of your time today, but hopefully useful to hear about what we've been working on behind the scenes. So in terms of the current Howbusyistoon product, we're still getting really good uptake and feedback on usefulness. So we're at about 89% usefulness based on the emojicons, which are the little smiley faces. That has slightly declined since we've been monitoring that since the 12th of April, when it was in the sort of mid-90s in terms of percentage usefulness. And that has slightly declined now to about 89%. So while we're really happy that still, you know, the significant majority of people do find it a very useful site, it probably is sort of saying to us that actually now is time to act. So what is it that isn't on there at the minute? Is it time to tweak it? Is it time to respond to things that, you know, what else are people looking for? So it's actually probably quite timely that we're doing this work, because it's clear from the current users that perhaps people are looking for something a little bit more. We are obviously updating the content on the site in line with government changes for Monday. So we're going to do that so that we make sure that it's presenting the most accurate and up-to-date information that we have. And we obviously are keen to promote it further. So we had the onboarding guide that we developed that gives people a run through about the user needs that the tool addresses, the types of things that the tool was developed to do, and then the technical information about how you might want to use your own CCTV networks or what to develop your own version. And we know that Leeds have obviously got their own version, and we've since learned this week that Basingstoke as well have introduced a sort of How Busy Is tool. So different from a technology perspective, but certainly in terms of the concept, we know that that's still something that people are looking to do. Obviously, we're really keen to promote the code. Like, the code is actually there for people to use. You don't have to spend your time doing it. And so please encourage people to do that. So one of the people who is looking at reusing Howbusyistoon, I guess, in its sort of entirety, is Mike's at War at Essex and Hearts District Innovation Zone. Mike, do you just want to give us a quick sort of couple of minutes on what you're doing and where you're up to and some of the challenges, I guess, that you're trying to overcome?
Yeah, happy to do that. And I'm always conscious of these that I wish I had more progress to report, but actually we are now making a little bit of progress. We have gone through a little bit of pain in terms of the global graphics card shortages. So in terms of building our PC out to be able to do the analysis of the images, that's taken us a little longer than hoped, but we've managed to resolve that now, and we've managed to secure a web host for the platform. So those are all steps that probably have taken us a bit longer than we'd hoped, but are now in place. So with Luke at the observatory, we are hopeful that over the next couple of weeks we can make some real strides to get this set up and live, and actually we hopefully will then be able to contribute to this learning that you're going through in terms of the code, because at that point we will start to use the code and work out what the real onboarding experience is like in terms of making it fit for Epping, and we are also keen, once it's done, to not only prove the concept of using somebody else's platform and work, but to prove the concept so that we could perhaps potentially look at expanding it across our area. So Epping is just one of many towns within the DIS, and so we're just keen to get to that point and start learning from it, and like yourself, see what else it could do for our residents.
Fantastic, thanks Mike, that's great. Keep us posted, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Next slide please, David. So if people have got any other, if you hear about anybody who's interested, by all means get them to get in touch. We have all of the information on our website as well. Obviously that's more about the current Howbusyistoon, and then previous show and tells have been focused on new data that people want to see. So we know that it isn't just about how busy somewhere is, but people are interested in other data sets as well, and we've obviously spent quite a lot of time doing quite a lot of user research and desktop analysis to actually try and pin down what it is that people are looking for. And the good news is we're now at the point where we've got a much better handle on that, and so I'll hand over to David, who can talk you through how we've been designing that into a new version of the website.
Cheers, Jenny, thanks. So I guess for anybody that was with us in the last show and tell, where we left things last time was we'd gone through, as Jenny mentioned, an extensive research phase, an ideation phase, but we got to a point where it was we were ready to start looking at the design side of things. So these I guess these kind of tasks here are where we're at the moment in terms of designing, and we've gone through wireframes and prototyping, and we've started some user testing around the concept itself, and we've also been looking at how we integrate real-time data into the site. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a bit of a snapshot of what we've been working on within these tasks and activities. And when we talked about what the next version of Howbusyistoon could be, this is how Jenny envisaged it, and this was actually really useful. I can see that she's laughing here, but this was really useful because I think it helped us understand, I guess, how we could share real-time travel and transport data. So these features include bus data, road traffic data. There's other stuff on there like EV charging stations, as well as the footfall and the car parking data, what we currently share. So from here, what you can see is a very kind of rough mock-up of us just thinking, right, okay, this is the new data that we want to share. How could we kind of apply it to the current site in its existing form? And doing this, it sort of immediately told us that we could almost look to improve the overall design of Howbusyistoon to suit the audience better, and with a key focus on accessibility, as well as utilising the .gov guidelines and component system. So we went back to the drawing boards and we started to wireframe. And as we were doing this, we were also working out at the same time what data would be available to share. And the dev team at Hedgehog Lab, in collaboration with Urban Observatory, we were working out how best we could share and visualise the data. And what we worked out was essentially there's kind of three ways for us to share this data. So we've got real-time data, which could be the footfall cameras. We've also got traffic cameras we can share, and we've got car park data and also real-time bus data, which we can share on the new site. But then we've also got secondary data, which kind of comes in the form of being able to share Twitter feeds from Northeast Traffic, from Nexus, and we've got the EV charging stations. And then finally, we see that the site could act as a hub to third-party websites for other useful tools, guidelines, and data that we know that our audience is interested in. So this is the current design of Howbusyistoon, which I'm sure many of you have seen. And we're very mindful that it was built with a focus on COVID. And whilst the aim of the new site will be to feature information to help information and tools to help people keep safe, we want to future-proof the new site so it's not completely COVID focused. So what you can see here is a very early design of how we thought we could share real-time data. We'd taken the overall look and feel of the existing site, but we started to bring in more data and put that at the forefront. So you'll see there that almost on the design to the right, that the traffic cam data is very much at the forefront. Reviewing these designs, we sort of felt that there may be accessibility issues with the color palette, and ultimately it felt a little bit like we were losing some of what we liked and what the users respond to about the existing version of Howbusyistoon. And we didn't want to alienate any of our existing users, so we started to look at how we could effectively combine this new real-time data sharing with the current site. Here you can see more work in progress designs, which start to feel a little bit more like the original site, but we've introduced some of the new categories that we're looking to include, such as information around the city centre, public transport, driving, and then information around cycling and walking. Now, we know that from the research, we've seen an increase in cycling and walking. So we want to have information on the site on there with some gentle nudge messaging about how we can encourage more sustainable forms of travel. And also on here, you'll see some of the placeholders that we're suggesting for useful links and tools to external sites. So this could be to the different apps that are available through kind of Go North East and Arriva, which help people keep safe when they're traveling on public transport. And finally, this is another work in progress glimpse of really what feels like the most realized version of the homepage for the new Howbusyistoon. So we've stripped back the color palette to make it more accessible, and we're allowing the busyness updates to stand out more. We're going to give users the option to select different cameras from around the city centre, and they'll be able to do that also with traffic cams on additional pages. And then users will have access to 3 main categories sharing real-time data. So that'll be about the city centre, about driving in and out of the city centre, and there'll also be real-time information with regards to the buses. And then, as I mentioned as well, there's going to be gentle nudge messaging around the site, which encourages users to perhaps cycle if the roads are looking busy, or take them to Google where they can plot walking routes as well. I've just actually seen this version of the site this morning in build, and it's looking really, really exciting. It feels like a step up from what we've got at the moment. And this, I guess, kind of fits in as well with the testing that we've been doing around this new version of the site, because the overall feedback is really positive. So you'll see some of the comments here of vast improvement on the existing, still good site. Another person mentioned, I always look at the cameras when I'm heading into the city centre. So if you add more cameras to the new site, I'll use the site even more. You've got another comment here around having information on the roads and traffic is really useful, as driving into the city centre can be a nightmare. So it's good to know that in advance. Another person here is saying, if I'm getting a bus, being able to see all the buses on the map is excellent. I know if I need to run to catch it. And then finally, I use a Stagecoach app to track my bus right now, but if I needed to use another provider, I'd look here, as I probably wouldn't download another app. So positive comments about the real-time bus data that we're sharing. So right now, as I mentioned, we're in build, and the structure of the site with the integration of the data has taken place, and we're testing these designs and concepts right now as well, and we're making iterative changes based upon user feedback. And then as of Monday, we're going into the second sprint of the build. So once the site is fully built, we'll then begin the second round of user testing. So we're looking to talk to a diverse group of people so that we can ensure we're delivering on accessibility needs and requirements. And from this, we'll then look to make further changes where possible before it goes live. And these tests that we'll be doing in terms of the feedback, gathering feedback, will be what we present at the next show and tell.
Great. Thanks.
Back to you, Jenny.
Yeah, thanks, David. I guess in summary, where we're at is that we've identified obviously the data that we can and that we want to share, and where we're at now is how we balance that with the user needs that people have raised through the research. So it's that careful balancing act of we know from the user research that lots of people continue to drive. There's an element of meeting the user need of those drivers, but also what can we do in the design of the site and in the information that we share that very much promotes the idea that you don't have to drive. So please don't drive. There's lots of other options. So how do we get that balance right? And certainly some of that's going to be about the content, but the way that it's designed, and how, if we're showing people the traffic cams, that we also have that nudge messaging around about, you know, here's the traffic cam, but you don't have to drive. You know, there are other options, you can do that. In terms of how some sort of other stuff that's sort of bubbling on, you'll see that EV charging stations was mentioned there. We've actually been in touch with DFT because they have launched an EV charging station open data project, and we are really keen to be part of that, because actually what we all know is that you can get this, I guess, patchy information on EV charging stations, and it doesn't generally give you real-time information about whether they're in use or you know, broken or whatever. So if we can be part of that DFT project as well, that fits really nicely into this. It's just exactly the sort of thing where we know that there will be more real-time data that's released, and that our site can almost be a place for hosting that within our area and with other people as well. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions. Obviously, if anybody's interested in taking part in the more detailed user testing when we have the site, we'd be really keen for people to do that. And certainly, I don't know if I'd just encourage people to get in touch with you, David, directly if they're interested in doing that. But certainly we'd be keen for a mix of views on the, you know, what is it work for you? Is the content right? Is the balance right? Is the messaging right? Is it accessible? All of those different types of questions. So please get in touch with David directly if you're interested in being part of the testing. And yeah, we will have another show and tell. There's some holiday time coming up. But we will have another show and tell probably in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, when we will have the build, and we'll have started some of the testing as well. So hopefully keep an eye out for that. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they want to make? I'm normally pretty quick to sort of cut people off, and then there's a flurry of questions. So, I mean, by all means, get in touch with me directly if you've got anything you want to add. I just want to end the presentation just by saying a thank you and good luck to Luke Smith at the Urban Observatory. So Luke has been a key part of this project from the start. He's been a key part of the Urban Observatory work that we've been involved with. He's heading off to pastures new. So thank you, Luke, for your support to the project. Really appreciate it. You'll be a big miss. I can see him smiling there. He's happy. Excellent. Great. Well, if nobody's got any questions, then we'll give you some time back for lunch. And do get in touch if you're interested in hearing more, or just reply me directly. Brilliant. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
It was fine.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.